Hi, we are AssureUS and we are undertaking Challenge 1, Automating Success. We are all mod apprentices through Projecting Success and chose to take the Assurance Challenge. So our challenge was to create a large language model powered agent which would successfully identify evidence within project artifacts, showcase if the evidence has been fully met against criteria within the PEAT tool, and highlight where the gaps were. We use Miro to plan out our pains and gains, product vision and value proposition. We wanted to reduce the time spent manually searching for evidence throughout the assurance process to support project managers and assurance managers alike. We adjusted our tooling to align to different personas and evidence objectives to ensure it is adaptable for each user. So we would like to present our AssureUS solution.
Ever feel like you're playing Where's Waldo, but for project documents? Thanks to the PEAT tool, we spend hours, sometimes days hunting for evidence just to answer the same set of questions, over and over. So, we hacked the system, literally. Meet our large language model-powered agent that reads your documents, understands PEAT criteria, and finds the answers for you. Just upload your project documents, and our artificial intelligence goes full detective mode, mapping every PEAT question to evidence complete with a confidence score and why it thinks so. Assurance in minutes, not days, built in a weekend, fueled by caffeine and some suspiciously powerful artificial intelligence.
My colleague Matt will now walk us through the first 3 sections of our solution, and then my colleague Scott will take over to talk you through the dashboard.
To create and train a large language model, we needed several supporting documents. The first one was the persona document. This outlined the 3 personas we were using, the wants and the pain points to go with them. We could feed this into the language model and assign it to one of these to allow it to filter the information. The second document we then needed was the prompt document. This document was split into 2 sections, the prompt and the scoring. The prompt document outlined everything the language model needed to do to help to train it. This included referencing the persona document and what the various personas were and what to look for. It then outlined what needed to do after that and looking at the scoring system and how that worked. And then finally, the final details of document types and what to look for. In the scoring section, we outlined how the scoring system works and what to look for, including some details such as there'll be certain times where they have to look for specific words, or sometimes context clues may be used. We then, using information from the PEAT documents, we then listed out all of the evidence required and what personas they were for. We assigned points to each evidence to allow us to score how well they did and how many evidence they produced, and then we used thresholds to give them overall statistics. To feed the large language model, we first gave it the prompts document and made sure it understood the task. After it had understood that, we then fed it the personas and assigned it to a persona. We then fed in the program documents, again assigning the persona. And once it had these, it could then start doing the analysis. The analysis produced the results we were after. That's included finding the evidence, and where it did find the evidence, it gave us the exact location where it found them and justification points. It completed this for all 50 rows, as shown here, and it was also able to skip over rows that were not relevant and also show if there was evidence missing. On top of this, we then were able, it then gave us our end statistics, which included details on how many of what score they got and the percentage of data they gave to us. We were then able to replicate this onto different programs and also changing the persona of it. This is shown here as it was now switched onto a different program and was again replicating it, this time looking at the persona of the project delivery lead. This is then exported into an Excel document, which covered all the data that we looked at. In response to the judges' questions, the first question was in regards to training the language model. As we just described, we trained the language model by using a series of documents, the prompts and the personas, clearly outlining what we needed to do. We gave it clear guidelines in regards to the scoring, and then gave it a step-by-step guide. We sectioned it out in paragraphs in order to structure it. For the training purposes and for getting it to do the different personas, we gave it all the information from the get-go and then clearly assigned personas to each piece of evidence that I could easily switch between them. In regards to the second question, the model can be refined. If it didn't give the results we were after, we were able to as long as we asked it clearly, get it to adjust the results and go again, this time with the new data. And we could also say this to the prompt sheet to allow us to retain it in future chats, or if it was in the same chat, the large language model would remember the results.
Once the LLM has carried out its analysis, it will then output an Excel file that we can use to create a dashboard. Unfortunately, when we got to creating the dashboard, the data wasn't quite outputting what we needed to. So we've included an image of our wireframe here for you to get an idea of what we hoped the dashboard would include. So we wanted to include a visualization of where the criteria had been met, and this would be conditionally formatted to show where it's partially met, fully met, or somewhere in the middle. And we would also include a target gauge on this as well, so that you could see how far you are on your confidence within the data as well. We'd also like to include slices on this, so you could filter it by the persona, you could filter it by the project artifact as well to give a little bit more granularity to the information. We'd also include, to hope, a link out to the AI information, which would provide a little bit more detail on where the AI thinks that it's found the evidence and the reasoning behind it. So it'll include little inserts of where in the document you can find this information. So we hope to be able to include this within our future iterations. So we see this as a solution that we can directly bring back to the MOD and work with, of course, with the changes to the dashboard. Our next steps and the future capability that we see is getting the LLM to search within SharePoint to find the artifacts and match against the PEAT tool. And we'd really love to see some knowledge graph expansion, so looking at linking documents and evidence contextually, adding in project context and building out relationships that way.